Well, hello again, and welcome to another 360 Timmy. Today, we're in the beautiful Herne Bay, walking along the coastal path, and my special guest today is Victoria Steers. Welcome, Victoria.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Good to see you. Now, Victoria is Head of Communications and Marketing for a Global Sports Institute, and she's also a passionate sportswoman herself. You can see on her Instagram, which we'll probably post the link to later.
Sounds good.
Very keen runner, many achievements, a keen cyclist, enjoys water sport. We're the perfect place for that as well, I can
I
see.
know, right?
And just generally all things sport. So how
Yeah.
lucky are you to have a job where sport's involved?
I feel very, very lucky. I mean, I didn't actually ever expect to work in sports. So, my background is higher education. Always worked in a marketing capacity. And then last year, my current organisation came knocking, and it sounded like a really exciting opportunity to be able to combine my two passions. So, I'm a big yes person. So, said yes, and here we are.
So what does that job entail then? So what does the organisation do?
Yeah, so we are sports education. So we have degrees and also professional education for people that are interested in either advancing their career in the sport industry or starting their career in the sport industry too. We have a big focus on football, but we also look at other sports too. And we've got campuses globally. So we're based in the UK, but we're also based in Australia and in America too.
That's pretty exciting. So
Yeah,
and very active on social media, I guess, these days, inspiring
yeah.
all kinds of people and backgrounds into sport.
Exactly. I mean, it's one of the fastest growing industries, and there are so many different elements to that sports sector. So, whether you want to work in a marketing capacity, or whether you want to be a coach, an analyst, there's just something for everybody.
That's really good. And so, in terms of background, you mentioned you were in higher education before. So, tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about your journey there.
So, as a child, I always wanted to work in politics. And so I did 2 degrees in politics. I did an undergrad in politics and governance, and a master's in international security and the politics of terror, which
Wow.
is an interesting topic. I always think that you should study what you're passionate about. Not that I'm passionate about terrorism, but you know. Um, but yeah, so whilst I was a student doing my undergrad, I did work for an MP for a short while who has actually since been in prison.
Oh,
So people can
crikey.
do their Googling and figure out who it might be.
Crikey.
Yeah, and that convinced me that I didn't want to work in politics. And so when I graduated, my current university offered me a full-time position in their marketing department, and I thought, well, why not?
And how do you, I mean, in terms of social media now, how do you keep across all the various platforms? I mean, in this month we've had Twitter disappear and become X. We've had Threads appear from Instagram.
I'm obsessed with threads.
Yeah, and it's incredible, isn't it? But how do you literally keep across all those platforms? Is it one single portal that you post from, or?
Yeah, I mean, I used to be very, very dedicated and would focus everything on Hootsuite so that I could then just ping off the kind of messages that I want to convey to my audience. But these days, I prefer to do more organic posting because I think if you're everywhere, you can never really give people your full attention. So I'm a big Twitter/X person for just like falling into a dark hole, and
Yeah.
kind of getting my news from there as well, whether that's legitimate or not. But actually, Instagram is where I focus the majority of my time, and also LinkedIn as well. I find is very good for professional opportunities. But Instagram is where I've really built a big following, and is also part of the work that I do with ASICS as well as a front runner. So that's kind of what feels like home, really. So that's where I like to focus the majority of my attention, and just having one site to focus on is so much easier because all of these things are kind of hobbies as well for me. So I think when it becomes a bit too regimented, it takes the fun out of it. And my number one thing with anything that I'm doing in life is, am I having fun? If the
Yeah,
answer is no, it's a waste of my time.
that's really important,
Yeah,
actually, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
You've got a unique skill. I saw you posting on Instagram yesterday. You do something I can't do, well, which is running to start with, but also running and talking.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that is incredible. You had the phone at a great distance. It was almost like you had a camera operator with you, and your voice was flawless.
Thank you. I will credit that to my Bose headphones that I had on as well. But yeah, I mean, I like to be able to talk with people whilst I'm running because I don't know, I want it to feel like a normal activity for people. And I want people to know like what is happening on that run, because I think for so many people, like they might see me running races, etc. But it's important to see the training that goes in behind the scenes as well, because there's a lot of work that goes into it. You don't just rock up at a start line, although I have rocked up at a start line completely undertrained and it's gone horribly wrong. So I like people to see that I'm actually trying to make an effort.
But it has gone terrifically great for you as well. You've won
Yeah,
a 20k Cannes Nice
yeah,
marathon.
yeah, yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably my biggest race win in terms of prestige. I think that was 2 years ago. Completely unexpected. I mean, I sometimes win local races, which is nice because the pool is smaller to work with. And so, you know, it depends who turns up on the day. But to win such a big international event with, I think, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was tens of thousands of runners. Yeah, it was a surreal moment when I crossed the finish line.
So was that a holiday, or were you out there for the marathon, or a bit of
Um,
both?
Bit of both. So we're in the process of buying a property in the south of France at the moment. It's somewhere that I consider to be my second home. Spent a lot of time in that French Riviera, Monaco area growing up. And so whenever there's a race over there, I sign up to it and tell my husband that he's lucky I'm taking him on holiday. Each time he says, "Oh, it's not to run another race, is it?" And I say, "Yes, it is, but aren't you lucky? Because there'll be sunshine and everything." So yeah, it's kind of a bit of both. I try to focus on going places where there will be a race on, but I'm partial to a holiday at the best of times.
And that must be quite challenging because of the climate. I think you were saying on the run I saw you over the weekend, you went out that particular time because you wanted to acclimatise to the heat.
Yes,
So that's quite
exactly.
important if you're running.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we've had such a cold summer in
We
the
have.
UK. But usually, my secret weapon is that I'm very, very good in the heat. I don't know why, don't know where that comes from, probably because I'm a bit of a beach lizard. But yeah, I haven't really had that chance to heat train properly this year. But I've got a mountain race in Greece next month. And so it's really important that I'm putting in that effort. So as the temperatures soar, I'll probably be going out with long sleeve tops on just to get myself a little bit hotter as well and see how I cope with it.
So does doing things like cycling as well, does that help, or
Yeah.
is there a chance you could strain a muscle for running? I mean that you can tell I don't do this sport thing, but
Well, I'd say there's always a risk with anything. I'm very prone to falling off my bike when I cycle, which isn't great. Fractured my leg during lockdown, falling off my
oh
bike.
crikey.
Yeah. So I have to be careful. But I always find that it's good to mix it up a little bit. Like for me, if I was running every single day, I would A, be miserable, and B, I would be overtrained, I would be exhausted. I wouldn't be a good athlete when it came to being on the start line. So I find it really beneficial to just run 4 times a week. I'm a relatively low mileage runner. And then I like to complement that with a bit of cycling, a bit of water sports activity, some swimming every now and again. Used to be a triathlete, although I was a terrible triathlete, so tend to avoid it, like combined, but like to do each of the individual sports. And also do a bit of strength training as well. I find that's really important and has helped my speed in recent years. So yeah, for me, I think having a full complement of different activities, if you can find the time, which is also an issue, I think that makes you a stronger and more bulletproof runner in the long term.
So you've given quite some inspiring talk there. Do you do this on your social media or
Uh,
YouTube or things like that? Sounds like something you could do quite well actually to
Thank
encourage others. And
you. Well, I try to kind of build trust with the audience that I have on Instagram. And I try to convey the right kind of messages. And I think a lot of that is based on my own prior experience, which I've had to live and learn the hard way, unfortunately, that, you know, don't make the same mistakes that I made earlier on when I was a younger runner. Instead, just enjoy yourself, keep things balanced. And yeah, you know, I try to communicate that message to people, whether or not they hear me, I don't know. Some of the rapport that I've built up with people indicates that, you know, I feel like I've got a fairly balanced message going on, which is great.
You seem to have some good locations to do it as well. So we mentioned the south of France.
Yes.
Here at Herne Bay, you can see this today. I mean,
Oh, it's
you've got
glorious,
everything
isn't
you
it?
need, don't you, really, around here?
Yeah.
And you go to Wales a lot as well. I always see you on
Yeah.
peaks doing those kind of challenges as well.
Yeah, so we've got a little place in the Brecon Beacons, which is so fortunate for us to have that. We're just in the middle of nowhere in the national park, and you walk out of our front gate and you've got mountains on your doorstep. So yeah, I'm very lucky to have all of these things at my disposal, and so it'd be a great shame if I didn't make the most of it.
Absolutely. So what's ahead for you then? You obviously, do you set goals every year in terms of your fitness and?
Yeah, I mean, I always set out with a couple of goals. So like my favorite kind of distances are 5K on the road and half marathons in the mountains. And so I try to have loose goals to match those. Unfortunately, I've had an injury this year, which I just haven't been able to shift. It's my SI joint, in case anybody listening knows how to fix that. But I've still managed to get quite a few PBs despite that. But I would say that my running is operating at about 10% less power than what I would usually expect when I'm in races. So the goals that I set at the beginning of this year, I think I set that I wanted a sub 19.5 minute 5K, and I actually managed to get that in Monaco in February. I managed to get 19:05, which I was so thrilled about, and it was completely unexpected as well. And then the mountain race that I'm doing in Greece next month, I've won it for the past 2 years, so the goal was to always go back and kind of try to hold on to that title. Whether or not I'll be able to do that this year, I don't know.
That's a lot of pressure, isn't it?
It's so much pressure, and you know what? The pressure only comes from myself, right?
Yeah.
So I've got myself to blame. I've only just started running on hills again, so whether I'll be able to do a mountain race justice, I just don't know. But I always think that what goes on in your head is more important on race day than what's going on in your body. And if I stand on that start line and say to myself that I can achieve whatever I want to achieve that day, that will go a long way. If I wake up and I'm happy, that will mean I have a good race.
Is there any sport you haven't tried that you would like to have a go at?
I would love to try kite surfing, but my physio says that it's one of the sports that gives the most injuries, so I'm trying to avoid it. I'm trying to resist the urge, but people do it here all the time. And whenever I'm out running and I see them doing it, I'm like, I really want to do that because I love anything on the water.
Yeah.
I'm a big sailor as well. And yeah, it just looks like so much fun. But I have also seen this viral video where people were kite surfing and they just kept going up and up and up and up. And because I'm quite light, I just foresee that happening to me and I just disappear somewhere.
End up in France.
Yeah,
well, not the south of France.
Complain. Yeah, ending up in Calais is probably
Calais, that's not so,
not
good,
so glamorous.
No. Lots of wind farms in between here and France.
Exactly, I'll get caught up somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, you're extremely lucky to have all the. I was to say, I mean, I can't get over actually what you've got here
it's
at your disposal,
isn't
it? It's super important. So professionally, where do you see yourself going as well?
So that's a really interesting question. In my 20s, I was always really hungry to climb the career ladder, and I did a pretty good job of that. But I had a health scare a couple of years ago, which resulted in having some surgery. It was a cancer scare, and it kind of made me reframe everything. And so for me, that work-life balance is more important than climbing that career ladder now. So actually, like professionally, what's going to be really important is getting to a point where I can justify working 4 days a week instead of 5, having longer weekends, but I can spend more time having fun. I always want to work in the education sector because I think education is so important. It's a privilege to be able to work in that sector and to inspire people to pursue education because it does transform lives. So it's really important that I'm always doing something that I care about and that feels meaningful, but to not have to work so hard. That's the goal.
Yeah, that's that's quite an algorithm, that, isn't it? But
yeah.
It looks like you've actually got that mastered quite well, actually.
I'm getting there, which is important. But yeah, I don't want to be a corporate slave, and I'm really lucky. The organisation I'm in at the moment, it's fun to go to work, which is also super important to me. But yeah, I don't have any aspirations to continue climbing the career ladder. I'm really happy with where I'm at.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for inspiring us today. I will put the link to your Instagram so everyone can see your activities, and it's great to watch as well. So, yeah, but maybe encourage even me to get out running. So
You should come and join me
I
for a
know
run.
that would be fun, wouldn't it? I
The
think
next
I'd
one.
have to get about 30 seconds, I think.
No, I
But
think
we've
you'd
walked
be
this far,
surprised.
haven't we? So we've done all right, haven't
Yeah,
we?
yeah, yeah.
But no, thank you very much,
No, my pleasure.
and have a super day.
Thank you, you too.
Take care.
Thanks, bye.